friends, it's Anvita, and today we're going to be going over the third part of our pre-algebra series. Today's topics include scientific notation, inequalities, variable manipulation, and area and perimeter. So let's start with scientific notation. In scientific notation, you write in the format c times 10 to the power of n, where 1 is less than or equal to c and less than 10, but does not include 10. 10 is your base, and it is always 10. It is never another number. N is your exponent, and it is always an integer. It can be positive or negative, but it's not a fraction. Let's move on to some examples. The first one we will try to do is change 902 into scientific notation. We can rewrite it as 9.02 times 10 to the power of 2 because we move our decimal 2 places to the right. The next problem is 0.315. Here, we can rewrite it as 3.15 times 10 to the power of negative 1 because we want to move our decimal 1 point to the left. The third problem we will try to do is 10,006. We can rewrite this as 1.0006 times 10 to the power of 4 because we want to move our decimal 4 places to the right. Now we can try to do 0.2058. We can write this as 2.058 times 10 to the power of negative 1 because we want our decimal to move 1 place to the left. The final problem we will try to do is 0.00973. We can rewrite this as 9.73 times 10 to the power of negative 3 because we want to move our decimal 3 places to the left. As you can see, when our exponent is positive, we move our decimal to the right, but when our exponent is negative, we move it to the left. Now, let's start moving on to inequalities. There are 4 main properties that you should know. The first one is the addition property. If A is less than B, then if you add C to both sides, A plus C is still less than B plus C. The next property is the subtraction property. If A is less than B, then if you subtract C from both sides, then A minus C is still less than B minus C. The next property is the multiplication property. If A is less than B, then if you multiply both sides by C, then CA is still less than CB. And if A is less than B, and you multiply both sides by negative C, then negative CA is greater than negative CB. Since you're multiplying by a negative, you have to switch the sign. The final property is the division property. If A is less than B and you divide both sides by C, then A divided by C is less than B divided by C. And similar to the multiplication property, if A is less than B and you divide both sides by negative C, then A divided by negative C is greater than B divided by negative C because you are switching the sign once again. Let's try a few examples. The first one that we will try to do is negative 112 is less than or equal to 5h plus 3h. Here we can combine 5h and 3h and rewrite our expression as negative 112 is less than or equal to 8h. We can divide both sides by 8 and say negative 14 is less than or equal to h, or h is greater than or equal to negative 14. Since our sign has a line underneath it, that stands for equal to. On our number line, we notate this with a closed circle. So our point is at negative 14 and we go to the right. The next problem we will try to do is negative 2n minus 10 plus 3n is less than negative 23. We can combine like terms on the left side of the equation and say n minus 10 is less than negative 23. Therefore, n is less than negative 13. Since our sign does not have a line underneath it, our circle on our number line will be an open circle. So we put our point at negative 13 and go to the left. The next problem we will try is 4y minus 114 is less than 4 times the quantity of 3 minus 2y minus 6y. Here, we can expand on the right side of the equation and say 4y minus 114 is less than 12 minus 8y minus 6y. We can collect like terms and say 4y minus 114 is less than 12 minus 14y. If we add 14y to both sides of the equation and add 114 to both sides of the equation, we can say 18y is less than 126, therefore y is less than 7. We have an open circle at 7 and we go to the left. The final problem we will do is negative 150 is less than 6a minus 10 plus 4a. After collecting like terms, we know that negative 150 is less than 10a minus 10. Therefore, negative 140 is less than 10a, and a is greater than negative 14. So we have an open circle at negative 14, and we go to the right. Let's move on to variable manipulation with a few examples. In variable manipulation, you are generally given two or more variables and you are asked to rearrange an equation to solve for a certain variable. In our first example, let's say f equals to w times p times x, and we are asked to solve for p. If you divide both sides by wx, then you are left with p equals to f divided by wx. In our second example, if we are given that the quantity of 4x plus p is divided by f and is equal to 7, and we are asked to solve for f, then we can multiply both sides by f to get 4x plus p equals to 7f. If we divide both sides by 7, then we can say that f equals to the quantity of 4x plus p divided by 7. In our third example, if the quantity of 7x plus p is divided by f and it equals to 10, and we are asked to solve for x, then if we multiply both sides by f, then 7x plus p equals to 10f. If you subtract p from both sides, then 7x equals to 10f minus p. Now, if you divide both sides by 7, then x equals to the quantity of 10f minus p divided by 7. Let's move on to area, perimeter, and volume. The first shape we will discuss is a rectangle. A rectangle has two equal sides, which are the width, and two other equal sides, which are the length. The area is the width times the length, and the perimeter is 2 times w plus 2 times l, or another way to say it is w plus l plus l. An example is if you have the width as 4 and the length as 6, then the area is 4 times 6, which is 24 units squared, and your perimeter is 2 times 4 plus 2 times 6, which is 20 units. The next shape we will talk about is a square. A square has 4 equal sides. The area is x times x, which is x squared, and your perimeter is 4 times x, which is also written as x plus x plus x plus x. An example is if you have x equals 7, then your area is 7 squared, which is 49, and your perimeter is 4 times 7, which is 28 units. Let's move on to triangles. In this case, we will talk about a right triangle, where your base is called B and your height is called H. Your height is perpendicular to your base. The area is base times height divided by 2, or 0.5 times base times height. Your perimeter is your height plus base plus your third side, which we can call C for now. Let's move on to an example. If the three side lengths of your triangle are 3, 4, and 5, where your base is 4, your height is 3, and C is 5, then the area is 4 times 3 divided by 2, which is 6 units squared, and your perimeter is 4 plus 3 plus 5, which is 12 units. Now let's move on to trapezoids. Trapezoids have two equal sides on the left and right, and two unequal sides on the top and bottom. The top and bottom are called base 1 and base 2, which is notated in short form as B1 and B2, and your height is perpendicular to base 2. Your area is 0.5 times the quantity of B1 plus B2, and to find your perimeter, you add all of your outer lengths. There are certain special cases where the left and right sides of your trapezoid are not equal. Let's move on to an example. In our example, let's say that your base 1 is 7, your base 2 is 9, and your two left and right sides are 3. We know that our area is 1/2 times the quantity of 7 plus 9, which equals to 8 units squared, and our perimeter is 7 plus 9 plus 3 plus 3, which is 22 units. Let's talk about parallelograms now. Parallelograms are essentially tilted rectangles. To find the area, you do base times height, where your height is perpendicular to your base. To find your perimeter, you add all of your outer lengths. For example, if your base is 5 and your height is 2, and the two sides which are tilted are 4.65, then your area is 5 times 2, which is 10 units squared, and your perimeter is 5 plus 5 plus 4.65 plus 4.65 giving you a total perimeter of 19.3 units. Now let's move on to circles. Circles have no sides, but they have a radius, which is from the center to the outer length of the circle. We notate this as r. The area of a circle is pi times r squared, and your perimeter is 2 pi r, but a perimeter is actually called a circumference for circles. For example, if your radius is 5, then your area is pi times 5 squared, which is 25 pi units squared. Your perimeter, which is actually a circumference, is 2 pi times 5, which is 10 pi units. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more math videos.